Hive Mind Hacks, Disobedience and Leadership Through Idols, presented by me. So first, the thesis and my stimulus materials. My thesis was, without intelligent disobedience and outspoken leaders, society would become a hive mind without any diversity. And the stimulus materials I used was the Simone Biles article and the most human meaning of courage, and I also used the Ira Chaloff article about intelligent disobedience. Now, you might be asking, how are disobedience and leadership related? Well, a common example that we see in everyday life is actually a guard dog or a service dog, and oftentimes they're given orders from their owner to do something specific, but oftentimes they actually do the opposite because they think it's for the betterment of their owner. So a good example of this is if the owner is doing something to endanger himself and the guard dog was told to sit somewhere else or just do their own thing. The guard dog will actually intervene and save their owner from potentially injuring themselves. Now, what are some examples of outspoken leaders in sports? Well, first, Simone Biles is the obvious one, as she recently withdrew from the Winter Olympics because she wasn't feeling herself. And her reasoning was that the mental just wasn't there, as shown in a quote from Marcus Tomlinson, who is the lead columnist of The Athletic. She said that she was fighting all these demons and her mental just wasn't there. She didn't trust herself as much as she used to, which is a very valid reason to not participate in the Olympics because of all the pressure that was on top of her to set records and get a near perfect score and lead her team to gold. Another example of this is Colin Kaepernick, who was the quarterback for the 49ers. Colin Kaepernick actually one day decided not to stand during the national anthem during one of the playoff games, which was one of the biggest games of the year. And Kaepernick, according to Adam Copeland, who is a college student at the University of Michigan, he said that Kaepernick did this to draw greater attention to police violence against black and brown people in the United States. Now, Kaepernick and Biles both did things that they believed in what was right and what was better for themselves and for the betterment of the team. Now, what are other examples besides sport? Well, some pop culture examples actually influence the younger audience and teach them exactly what it means to be intelligently disobedient, to be a true leader. For example, in Captain America Civil War, the Avengers are split in the middle because of a treaty they have to sign called the Sokovia Accords. What this treaty says is that they can't fight crime anymore. And some agree and some disagree, which causes strife in the group. And as the younger audience watches this, they are actually experiencing critical thinking and intelligent disobedience from both sides, because both sides fight for what is right, even though it might not be the right thing to do, or that it goes against what someone else has already told them to do. Now, how does this prevent a hive mind? Well, first, as stated perfectly by Garrett Jones, a hive mind is how your nation's IQ matters so much more than your own. Now, what this means is that essentially your nation comes before you, and you are run under the nation, and that everything else matters above you, and you're just a part of something bigger under one collective being. And some examples of this is, as said perfectly by the Open Minds Foundation, it means critical thinking means specifically and intentionally examining information to determine its validity and relevance. It is your first line of defense for preventing coercion and coercive control, including identifying misinformation and fake news. By not critically thinking, you find yourself subject to lies and rumors that are often not true and are told by people who intend to deceive you. However, by thinking for yourself and choosing to truly analyze a problem, you can figure out exactly what this means for you and how it benefits you. As said by Christopher Dwyer, who is a corresponding author of the School of Psychology, critical thinking skills are crucial for individuals to adapt and cope with rapidly evolving information, promoting better decision-making and problem-solving in real-world applications. This is why critical thinking is so important, and if a hive mind were to take over because leaders like Simone Biles disappeared and Colin Kaepernick did not stand up for themselves, people would stop critically thinking and they wouldn't find a reason to really stand up for what they believe in. Now, a solution. How can leaders encourage this form of critical thinking to prevent a hive mind from happening? Well, as said perfectly by Philip C. Abrami, who is an author and education researcher at Concordia University, effective strategies for teaching critical thinking include dialogue, exposure to authentic problems, and mentoring. As shown in this six-step diagram here of critical thinking, it starts with observing what the problem is, analyzing ways to solve it, synthesizing a true solution, inferring some other solutions, communicating to other people about your solution and spreading the word, and then eventually problem solving and truly fixing the solution. Now, some could say, as said by Smith Bondar, who is an adult psychiatrist, those with a hive mentality feel a strong social connection and mutual trust that forms within a group. Even even if the group doesn't meet in person, the sense of a social community can be a positive thing. So there are always outliers in everyday life because throughout life there's always going to be a hierarchy. For example, in high school you have the big jock guy who's popular and knows everyone. You also have the nerd who eats lunch alone. And in a hive mind, that nerd might feel more comfortable with himself because he has a bunch of other people who are essentially like-minded and under one being. It's the same thing with older people. At a job, there's always that one person who's kind of sitting alone, outside and outlier. And with a hive mentality, there will be none of those, and those people will feel so much better about themselves. However, according to W. James, who is a medicine practitioner of London, Homo sapiens emerged and evolved through genetic drift, adaptation to local environments, and changes in mitochondrial and nuclear DNA. Now, relating to Darwin's theory of evolution, humans actually changed due to the hierarchy, due to other people standing up past other animals and other species. And that's how we've gotten to where we are today. Without that, we would essentially just be like a hive mind, which derives from a beehive, where it's just one queen and a bunch of worker bees, mindless worker bees who don't do anything to stand up for themselves, who don't feel anything different from what their queen feels. Now, overall, intelligent disobedience prevents the hive mind through leaders like Simone Biles and Colin Kaepernick in sports and the Avengers in Civil War. And conformity would take over if not for these leaders and critical thinking, because a hive mind is just conformity all in one, under one being. Everyone is the same and no one thinks it different. As it's shown here, it's different people, but everyone's wearing the same mask and everyone thinks the same. Critical thinking would be stimulated by intelligent disobedience, which prevents hive mind, and this is actually crucial to keeping society safe as we know it. Thank you. My work's cited.
Fantastic. Thanks, Landon. I got a couple of questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. So for the first one, how did your research question evolve as you went through the process from the very beginning of your conceptualization all the way up to now? Tell us about that.
So actually, originally, I wasn't going to focus on sports leaders at all, and I was going to try to focus more on military leaders and kind of more people along that range. I wasn't going to focus on sports leaders at all, and then I thought, well, Simone Biles, I can integrate that in. And then I started looking into people like Colin Kaepernick and even Bill Russell, who ended up not making it to my presentation, but I kept looking for more examples like that.
Okay, terrific. And then as a follow-up to that one, what additional questions emerged as you worked on this project? Like if you were to do something in this area again, what would you focus on?
I actually want to focus more on a hive mind and how it works and what really causes it, because I feel like I didn't dive deep enough into it. And I feel like if I had looked more into exactly what a hive mind is, I could have had a much more well-written argument and even a stronger link.
Okay, terrific.